What has been your contact in the sense of Padre Pio affecting you as a priest and as a layperson? What's your, how did he, because Padre Pio is one of my favorite saints. Is there anything in his life that touched you as a
Sure, there are several things in his life.
Tell me.
He had an, let me say this correctly.
Yeah.
An earthy sense of humor.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Earthy.
Yeah.
Earthy. Yeah. Which is, but I'll give you an example of that.
Yeah.
And I knew this, I think, from Mother Pasqualina also. I think it's in that book. Mm-hmm. But there was a famous Franciscan priest by the name of Father Gemelli.
Yes.
And he began the Gemelli Clinic. It's called the Sacred Heart Hospital, Clinica del Sacro Cuore in Rome. It's the biggest. There's also another one in Milan. They're the best. They were the best anyway. The best hospitals and medical student staff for teaching doctors. Those two hospitals, they were the clinics, and they're both called the Gemelli after the priest who founded them. Well, Father Gemelli really disliked Padre Pio.
Wow.
Really disliked him. And it's funny because they both belong to the same congregation.
Yeah.
They're both Franciscan priests.
So that's funny.
And Father Gemelli, Father Gemelli was one of the first strong proponents to say that Padre Pio's stigmata were fake.
Wow.
Yeah. They were false, they were fake, they were psychologically induced.
Yeah.
He went on and on and on and on. And he sent, and the Vatican, silenced Padre Pio.
Of course, for years.
Well, they silenced Padre Pio because of Father Gemelli. Father Gemelli's protest.
Yeah.
He said, this is superstition, it's this, that, and the other thing. Well, anyway, the Vatican, at one point, when they were reinvestigating Padre Pio, asked Gemelli, of all people, to send out, I believe, 2 psychiatrists from the Gemelli Clinic to interview Padre Pio.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, they went out and they interviewed him. And their conclusion was, this Padre Pio is in silence. He can't speak. Right? Can't speak, can't offer mass publicly, can't hear confessions.
Wow.
Right? This went on for years while they were investigating him. Anyway, Padre Pio got the results. One of the doctors said, he asked him point blank, he said, well, what do you think? What he's saying is, in essence, am I crazy? Am I a charlatan?
Yeah.
Am I a fraud? What am I? What is your conclusion? And one of the psychiatrists said to him and to his superior, we've come to the conclusion that the reason you have the stigmata is because you're meditating too much on the passion of Christ. Right? Padre Pio said, because I'm meditating too much, too often on the passion and death of Christ, I have the stigmata. The doctor said yes. He said, and then Padre Pio said this. He said, out in the pasture, we have a bull with a pair of horns this wide.
Yeah.
Why don't you go out, doctor, and look and contemplate that bull and see if you grow horns?
Yeah.
Right?
That's a great answer.
Well, but you have to understand what to grow horns means in Italian.
Ah, okay. I get it.
To understand the earthiness of it.
Yeah, no,
right?
I get it.
But that's exactly what he came back with.
Yeah.
Well, years later, when Pius XII was named Secretary of State to Pius XI, Pius XII intervened.
Good.
Did his own investigation and found that Padre Pio was absolutely authentic.
Yeah.
And the Pope at that time, Pius XI, did all but apologize to Padre Pio.
Wow.
For listening to the wrong priest for the wrong advice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that Padre Pio was an astounding man.
Yeah.
An astounding man. No nonsense. And I'll tell you what he did, if nothing else. I think Padre Pio, he died when I was 18. And I think it was that time that I really looked at the Mass through his eyes. he refused to say the new Mass.
That's correct. Yeah.
And he said the Latin Mass. And I remember thinking, if this great saint who suffered so much through his life because of doing good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And never stopped doing good until he died
Yeah.
with his last breath. If this Mass was important to him and not to be changed, it should be important to me. And I think that's when I began really to love the Latin Mass.
Wow.
I knew it as a kid, but I think Padre Pio was the one who really brought that home to me as a young adult.
I can see that.
I think so.
I can see that. Well, that's what Bishop Strickland is talking about, that the Mass is so important. He says, as Catholics, we know the importance of participating in Mass. Unfortunately, though, it's a great tragedy of our time that the majority of baptized Catholics, like about 85% in our country, in America, Catholics do not see a need to attend Mass on Sunday. Now, the Bible, he says, makes it clear that there is no sacrifice worthy of his name except the sacrifice made by Jesus Christ, offered one sacrifice for sins. He quotes Hebrews chapter 10. It's imperative that we understand that the Mass is not another sacrifice. I remember as a kid getting this message. Christ is outside of time. This blew me away. But I don't think Catholics really understand that, Father. And he says, lives in the eternal present. Therefore, the actions of Calvary, Christ on Calvary and on each Mass are eternal acts made present again. By going to Mass, we are present at the foot of the cross, and we are offering to the Father the only sacrifice that is perfect sacrifice, the perfect offering of his perfect Son. Now, just that in itself, that's like, how many Catholics even have a clue? And I'm going to estimate just by actions that I'll use the word minute. A very small amount of Catholics understand what the Mass is. Therefore, many of them don't even attend. And those who attend, I have to say this anecdotally, for about 30 years, I would ask Catholics outside of Catholic churches as I would travel my work as a Catholic evangelist. I would just, when people were walking into the parking lot coming into the church, I'd say, I just wanted to ask you, could you tell me what the Mass is? What's your understanding? What takes place up there? And 90% of the people couldn't even come close. Some came somewhat close, but very few really understood the Mass.
Well, why would they? Why would
That's
they, Terry?
the point. Tell us.
Just a minute. Yeah. I mean this sincerely.
I hear you.
How could they come close to giving you an answer to that question when there is very little that they could grasp about sacrifice involved in what they just came out of, or Calvary?
Yes.
From what they just witnessed and were part of.
Yes.
It's not there. It's not there.
Yeah.
We've taken it out. Yeah. This is the whole problem that we're facing today.
Yeah.
It finally caught up to us. We've been kind of pussyfooting around the answer, not giving the answer. You don't understand what it is to feel joy. We've got joy down in our heart. Bum, 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 right? Hallelujah.
Give me a break.
Do cartwheels and somersaults and everything. Yeah. No, that's not it at all.
Right.
But my point is, walk into a Catholic parish, your average Catholic parish, you would not come out with the idea that you had just visited Calvary.